present on a small session. Okay, I'll share my screen. For those who are not aware, I'm Siddesh. I work as a freelance corporate trainer, consultant, and co-founder of a small self-publishing group called Bookstruck. Today's topic is ASP.NET Core MVC, and I welcome you all. So today, the agenda is to look at three small topics. We have only limited time here. I hope my screen can be seen by everyone. Can anyone just confirm? Okay, great. So our agenda today is take a look at what is .NET Core, what is .NET Core CLI, use those commands to create a small application, and then we will move to ASP.NET Core MVC to create a small web application. So why .NET Core? This is a next generation framework from Microsoft itself to allow truly cross-platform development and allow us to create .NET applications and host them on not only Windows but Linux and other non-Windows environment themselves. Earlier, whenever we used to create a .NET framework applications, along with the project itself, there were so many references added, which we may not be using in the current application. So it was making the whole application bulky. And but now onwards, when we say .NET Core, we use all the dependencies. Lightweight application is created with the required dependencies, and whatever extra things you need in the application, you will add them as and when as you package. So this leads us to the next point, which is making this application higher performance. In .NET Framework, the compilation process is two-step, as we are all aware. We write the code in high-level language like C#. The language-specific compiler, we convert it into IL. This is also known as MSIL or CIL. This then IL is then converted by the JIT compiler into machine-level language. The process is same, but again now we have different kinds of runtimes depending on where we are deploying the application. If we are deploying the application in Windows Store, it will use .NET Native runtime. If you are using a web application, it will use Core CLR to run the application. Again, now going forward from this year itself, there will not be .NET Framework or .NET Core. It will be a unified .NET, and we'll look at the schedule also at the end. From November onwards, we will have a we will have a unified framework for the development as well as release. Here are some of the, just hold on guys.
सिद्धेश, आपका वॉइस ही नहीं आ रहा है, स्टार्टिंग से नहीं आ रहा है। सब लोग उधर मैसेज डाल रहे हैं मेरे को भी नहीं आ रहा है। हाँ हेलो, आपका वॉइस आ ही नहीं रहा है स्टार्टिंग से। नो नो नो, नॉट एट ऑल। आपको सब लोग कब से, आप चैट नहीं देख रहे हो क्या? चैट में डाल रहे देखो। हाँ। नो नो नो, किसको भी नहीं आ रहा है, देखो ना। हाँ करो एक बार, मुझे लग रहा है आपका कुछ तो ज्वाइन। देखो ना, आपका माइक म्यूट है, माइक म्यूट है, देखो उधर। करो एक बार, अनम्यूट करो और बात करो।
Can you hear me now?
हाँ अभी आपका आवाज आ रहा है।
अच्छा अच्छा,
Yeah,
okay, we'll
now
continue.
we are able to hear you, Siddhesh sir. Yeah, please.
Sorry guys, there was some issue. I hope I'm audible now.
Yeah, now you are audible, but we are not able to hear you from the beginning. So I think you should start from the beginning. Hello. One minute, guys. I'm just checking. I don't know, like, what's the problem again. सर आपका वॉइस फिर से नहीं आ रहा है।
Some problem. Someone muted me. Okay,
अभी
can you hear me now?
या
Acha acha. Am I being muted by someone? Uh,
नो।
Maybe I'll check. Maybe I'll check. Okay, we'll continue. Okay, I hope I'm audible now. If not, guys, please tell me. Can you hear me? Amit is saying no voice. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, great. So these are the three topics we are going to take a look at. .NET Core allows us to create a truly cross-platform application, not only target Windows, but other OSs also. Uh, all the dependencies now are moved as or are will be created as a NuGet packages. So this makes it a very modular framework. Only the dependencies which are required for your applications can be added as a NuGet packages, and then only those things can be shipped. This also allows us to create very high performance and scalable systems. The whole source code of .NET Core is open source, and you can go to GitHub, download, and check out the source code. Since this is very modular, it also allows Microsoft to give frequent updates. If you go to .net.microsoft.com site, you will get all the details about what is a .NET Core platform itself and how you can use it to create cross-platform apps. There are two terms you will hear here. One is Core CLR. This is similar to CLR we have in .NET Framework, but now this is for .NET Core applications. And instead of JIT compiler, we have RYUJIT or RYUJIT as we call it. If you want to create a .NET Core application, you will need Visual Studio 2017 or 19, or you can also use Visual Studio Code, which is a favorite editor these days. And you will need .NET Core SDK for development, latest being 3.1 LTS version, or runtime if you are deploying the application. This is a traditional two-stage compilation process. You write the code in C# code, use the language specific compiler. It converts the code into IL, MSIL or CIL as you call it. Then the JIT compiler will convert that IL code into machine level code. The steps are same, but here depending on the platform, we might have a different runtime that will translate or convert IL code to machine level code. Uh, Going forward, we won't have .NET Framework or .NET Core as separate frameworks, uh, but it will be a unified .NET Framework from this year onwards. We'll look at it at the end. Here are some of the differences between based on some criteria, .NET Core and .NET Framework. An application created on .NET Framework, we already know it can be targeted to Windows platform only, but .NET Core we can uh, target to other platforms also. .NET Core fully open source, you can go to GitHub and download the source code, but for .NET Framework, it is only a subset that is available. If you create a .NET Framework application, the output assembly could be either exe or DLL, but here in .NET Core everything will be DLL, but with latest SDK we can also create platform specific assembly also. And the shared assemblies were earlier installed in global assembly cache, but now they will be added as per the location on the platform, since we are targeting other OSs also. Next point is CLI, command line interface. So I already have CLI tools installed. You can also Google for CLI commands to see which are the commands available for performing different actions. I can use the .NET list SDKs command to find out which SDK versions are installed. I can also use version command to see which is the latest version installed. What are few other commands available? I can use .NET space new to create a new project along with other artifacts. I can use restore to restore the dependencies, which are NuGet packages. Build to build a project, run to run the project, publish to create the artifact to create the for publishing, and test to run the unit test cases. So if I use this command, which I can use to create a new console based application, I will give a switch of name to give a name to the project. I will use this command, let's say, to create a project. Let me use .NET new console. Either I can use !n or !name, depending on how many keystrokes you want to save. Let's say I want to create a hello world console application. And we'll also go to the folder to see what it generates. So as you can see, a .NET hello world project is created. New folder is also created. CS_proj is the project file. I can now open this project in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code and write the program or edit it. Let me quickly edit. Okay, we already have a message to be written on the console, which I will not edit for now. But if I go back, let me go back, and there is nothing. Okay, I will use another command to, let me go to the folder first, and now I will use run command, which is essentially going to invoke three things. One is restore to restore all the NuGet packages, build, and then finally run the project. And as you can see, this is the output that we were expecting. So you can use all the CLI commands to create, build, run, test all the .NET application. So when you create a new project with this command, it will also, we created only a console application, but as we go to the next application, we'll see the other types of files also that are being created. Okay, so this was a teaser of what .NET Core CLI is. Next important topic is ASP.NET Core MVC. ASP.NET is a web application development framework given by Microsoft. We are targeting core, hence core there, and we will be using MVC template to create a MVC kind of application itself. So while looking at the core concepts, we'll also create a sample application to perform the CRUD operations. We'll put appropriate validations in place. We'll try to store the data in SQL Server, and we will also use Entity Framework Core to perform all the database operations. This sounds a bit complex, but as we go along, we'll see that it is very easy to create and run the ASP.NET Core MVC applications. I have Visual Studio 2019 with me. I will be using ASP.NET Core web application template for a specific language. You can also filter it out using the filters here. I'll click next. I'll give a name as product app. Let me copy this path. Click on create. On the next screen, it will give me some options. Now here you can even go back to .NET Framework and choose .NET. Now notice that even if I change the .NET from .NET Core to .NET Framework, it also allows me to use ASP.NET Core application to be created. So this is like I'm creating a core application, but underlying .NET Framework is being used. But I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to use .NET Core as an underlying framework and ASP.NET Core 3.1 latest version. Again, we have a few options. I can create a web API project or a web application which will use Razor pages, or an MVC which will use Razor views. Authentication, let me also embed individual user accounts here. There are other options also. You might have Active Directory involved or some other kind of security mechanism. You can use it using by changing the authentication type here. So this will allow me to use ASP.NET Identity for authentication and authorization. I can also add Docker support, which is a container technology, while creating the project itself, or at a later stage also I can add this support. For now, I'm not going to add Docker support. I'm going to click on create. It will take some time. Let's go back to the document. This is what we have already just discussed about. For those who are not aware of MVC, MVC is a model view controller architectural pattern. This pattern is based on a design pattern called as front controller pattern. All the requests coming from the browser or user are handled by a class called controller. Controller has methods called action methods. So every request coming in, the routing engine and the routing template will determine which controller and which action method to be invoked. Once we identify the controller and action method, it will perform the processing. It will update the model or create the model as per the requirement, get the data into the model or view model. There are other techniques also, and pass it on to the view. The view is what is finally sent to the user as a response. So this is how MVC architecture works. Let me see if the application is created. Okay, now if you look here, those who have worked with ASP.NET application, it could be MVC or traditional application based on .NET framework, you'll see a few different files as well as folder structure here. First is we don't have any references, but we have something known as dependencies. Now, under packages, you will whatever you see, these are plain simple NuGet packages that you can install. I can right click on the dependencies, go to manage NuGet packages. I can add, update, delete it. There is a concept called meta package also. Whatever you see under frameworks, these are known as meta packages. Meta packages means a package or a container for other package related packages. So I want to create, when I want to create a ASP.NET Core application, I will be needing let's say 10 dependent packages. So instead of adding one by one, I will create a kind of a package of those packages, and I will add it as a reference here. So those who are interested more, maybe you can note down all these terminologies. These are new terminologies. You can just Google and find out more about them. Meta packages is the first thing. Secondly, you will we will have some CSS files, style sheets defined, JavaScript files, and under libraries, we will have all the Bootstrap, jQuery, and other JavaScript libraries. These are known as static files, and they will be placed under www root folder. All controllers will be placed under controllers folder. Since we have added entity framework core support, we have a data folder under which we have a DB context class. This will be responsible for performing the actual database operations. Entity framework is a ORM tool for those who are not aware, and also migrations will be enabled by default. Models will house all the models which will be interfacing with actual tables in the database. Under views, we will have folders for every controller, and under that we will have actual Razor views. The file names are CSHTML. This Razor views allows us to write HTML along with C# code in the view file itself. Next is we earlier configuration was stored in web.config file, which was an XML based configuration file, but now you will see app.settings.json. So no XML file, all the configuration will be stored as JSON file content itself in this app settings.json file. And you can see that we have connection strings under which name of the connection string and the normal format of the connection string. If you notice, this is also changed. Earlier we had data source, initial catalog, and so on. Now we have the server, which is a database server. Let me quickly make a change here. I already have a local server. So I'll change the server name to point to the local server. I'll say database name. This is going to be the database name for this application. Rest of the things I'm going to trusted connection, meaning Windows authentication I'm using. And there are two more files, program and startup. In program, if I go, this is the main method. For every application, this is the main entry point. This is where it begins. Here I'm writing a method to create a host. Now you will ask, oh, this is a web application. Why do we need a host here? At the beginning, we said that we want to create a web application which we want to target, not deploy, not only on Windows, but also on Linux and other OSs also. IIS is traditionally other web server for hosting ASP.NET applications. But if we are publishing or deploying on other OSs other than Windows, we don't have IIS there. So they have come up with a concept called Kestrel server. Kestrel server is a lightweight web server that will be created on the fly when the application starts, and it is going to use some configuration plus additional things defined within a startup class. So this create default builder method is going to create a default host, which is a Kestrel server. It is going to configure it using things that I'm going to define in the startup class. So let's go to that class. Now there will be two more terms that you will hear when we go to one is middleware and another is dependency injection. Again, dependency injection is a pattern, and we can inject the dependent objects via constructor or some other mechanism. Here we will be using dependency injection via constructor. If you are using traditional ASP.NET application, then you need to use a third-party dependency injection framework such as AutoFac, Ninject, and so on. By default, dependency injection is supported in .NET Core applications. Okay, so dependency in whatever objects or services I want to inject as of startup class. This method is called automatically by the runtime. So you don't have to bother about calling this. Here I will define whatever objects I need as dependent objects, and those can be injected via constructor. We'll see one example. First thing is I'm going to add a database context. Since I'm using Entity Framework Core here, database context object has to be injected. I'm specifying that I'm going to use SQL Server as the backend database, and I'm going to read the connection string from the configuration file, which is the fsettings.json file in which we have already defined our connection string. I'm also specifying that I'm going to use identity as a membership framework for authentication and authorization. And here I can give some options. I'm also specifying that I'm going to use controllers with views. So MVC framework is being, or architecture pattern is being used here. And since we by default identity framework uses Razor pages also, so though all these are added as dependency objects in the configure services method. If I want to add my own services or objects, I can use add singleton. If I want to create a singleton object of my custom service or class, then I will define that my class, for example, and I will inject it as a singleton object. Or there are few other ways of adding the dependencies also. This is one of the ways. Next is middleware. Let's see what middleware is first. Let me go to this link. Okay, so middleware is a kind of a software that you can add into your application pipeline to handle all the requests and responses. So what happens is whenever a request comes from the user, it will be first handled by the middleware, which we define in the configure method of the startup class in the sequential manner. And the um, order also matters here for some of the middleware components. You can use inbuilt middleware components, or you can also have your custom defined middleware components. A request coming from browser will be handled first by the first middleware component, by the next, and so on. Then finally actual controller will handle that request, process it, give the response. The response will be again handled by the middleware components in reverse order, and finally the response will be sent to the actual browser. This is how all the application and all the requests coming for the application which targets .NET Core. This is how the web applications are defined now. Let me scroll down a bit. And if you see here they have given example of how the order will look like, how the request is going to be handled by each middleware component one by one. And here the sequence also matters. So let me go back to the code. You can see that this configure method takes two parameters. One is the current application, first parameter, and second is the host environment object. This host environment object will tell us whether this is a currently a development environment or not. The way to identify it is I can go to the properties of the project, go to the debug section, and there we have an environment variable defined called ASP.NET Core environment. Here I can, by default it is development, I can change it to production, UAT, or any other staging environment that we have, and accordingly we can write our middleware component. So if this is a development environment, I'm going to use this particular middleware only. Use developer exception page means that I'm going to, in development environment, I will use the developer. If there is an unhandled exception, I will display the exception details on the UI itself for the developer to know more about the exception details, and it will help in debugging or fixing the issues. Also, if there is any database related error, I will display on the view itself. Otherwise, if it is case of production, I will not be displaying the developer exception page, but I will redirect to the particular error view and display the generic error. Similarly, if there is a HTTPS protocol redirection required, I will use it. If I don't need, or if your application doesn't need, you can comment it. Static files, we saw that all static files are present under www root folder. It will also house your images, all the static content. So these static files will be served next. Since this is an MVC application, we will use routing. We have also added support for identity, which is for authentication and authorization. And finally, we will use endpoints such that every endpoint will have a routing map to this particular default pattern. The default controller being home, default action being index, and the optional parameter. And also ASP.NET identity uses Razor pages, and hence this is also added. If we had not added ASP.NET identity support, then this particular line would not exist here. So I suppose you are now aware of what is the starting point and why do we need to configure a host, which is Kestrel, because we have cross-platform now, IIS not supported on other OSs. If you go to startup, there will be two methods you will encounter. First is configure services, in which I will add all the dependencies as I will add the dependencies such that they can be injected later on. You don't need to use any dependency injection third-party framework or tool here. By default, it is out of the box supported. Next is configure method. Again, in configure method, I can pass few more things also here as per requirement. And here, this is where all the middleware components are defined. The sequence matters, and you will comment or add only those required components, middleware components which you need for your application. Okay, now I will start. This is how the basic folder structure and application looks like. Let me add a model now. I'll call it as product. I'll add some properties. ID will be treated as by default primary key. Name, decimal as price, and a category with an enum. Then you can use Smart tab or Actions tab to generate a new type for category. I will create it as enum in a new file. I'm going to press F12, go to the definition. I'll add some my model class is ready. I'll also add some data annotation. My schema is generated with all constraints. They all are required. You can add few more constraints as per your requirement. You can also have custom. This will also act as a validations on the client side and also validations on the server side also. Let me go back to the DB context. This is where it derives from identity DB context, and if you go to the definition, again it will derive from DB context. Finally, this will act as our database connection for performing all CRUD operations on the database. I will add a property called dbset here of the product. Okay, what this will do is this is like a database connection to our database, and products collection here will act as a reference to the product table in the database, and in the this product class will interface with actual table details in the database. This is how entity framework works. Now let me build a project. Okay, now if you see no database will be created. Before I go forward and create the controller, I want to make sure database is created. Under data, you will see that migration, default migration is already added for the ASP.NET identity tables. I just added a one more product DB set of product. So I need to go to package manager console and add one more migration for the newly added product table. I'll say added product. So I need to run two commands. One is add migration, and secondly update database. Update database command will create the actual database with the required tables. Let's see. Of course, there is some warning here. I'm going to ignore for now. Okay, as you can see, product FDB, and under this, all the required tables are also generated. Notice that this migration history will store all the migration, whatever migrations we are adding, removing, and so on. Then we have some tables for ASP.NET identity support for storing roles, users, information, and so on. And finally, you can also see a table for products also. So our database is generated. I will go back to the application, and now I will create a controller. And while creating a controller, I will use the scaffolding template. I'm going to use the third template, which will allow us me to create a controller with the required views, with all the CRUD actions, and it will also use entity framework for performing all the database operations. Oh, not empty. The third one, I choose the model class product. We already have the required DB context class, so I will use it from the drop down list. I'll already we have the checkboxes for generating the views automatically. All the script libraries will be referenced automatically. One more thing is in ASP.NET Web Forms, we had a concept called master page to give a common look and feel for all the content pages. Similarly, we have here a layout page. This is specifically from Razor pages point of view, or Razor views. All the common look and feel you can put it in the layout page itself. And notice that it has automatically inferred the name of the controller also. So it will take a bit of time to generate. In the meantime, let me go back and talk a bit about the method create default builder that we saw in the program class. Right, so what this does is it will automatically add all the configuration file. It will add all the environment variable, it will add all the loggers, and it will also allow us to use Castrol, which is a cross-platform web server for ASP.NET Core, since we are deploying on non-Windows environment also. All the IIS integration, if we are running this in on the Windows environment, all this will be done under the hood by this create default builder method of the host class. I should mention here host class. Okay, so let me go back. So scaffolding is a technique to automatically generate all the boilerplate code that we would otherwise have to write. If you remember, if we are to create simple CRUD application, we would have to write so much code. But if you are using entity framework code first approach and you are using scaffolding, then if you see here, this class has already created all the methods for getting the list of the products, creating a product, deleting a product, editing a product, and so on. And this is very important. If you see here in the constructor of this products controller, we are injecting a context object. Notice that I have not created the context object explicitly. I am going to use dependency injection of .NET Core application itself. If you go to startup class, in the configure service itself, here we have already created a DB context object and informed the runtime that we will be using this we will be injecting this DB context object. And if you go to the index action method, this is going to display the list of the products. Notice that all the methods are asynchronously being called here, async programming. I am clicking on the view, go to the view. If I go to the view, this is a strongly typed view. I can get to know from the first line itself, it is bound to the list of products. Instead of index, I'll say product list here. Mistake. Okay, there is a one more concept here in ASP.NET Core called as tag application using ASP.NET MVC targeting.NET framework. I would have HTML helper. Now whatever you see here at the rate HTML dot, these are known as HTML helper methods. They allow us to generate the HTML element or HTML code by using C#. So whatever you see after at the rate code is known as Razor code. So I'm mixing C# code here with HTML, or I'm using C# code to generate the required HTML. At the rate HTML, this is HTML helper method. But now, instead of that, they have added something known as tag. Let me write here tag helper. So tag helper is an attribute that you can add to an HTML So instead of juggling between writing the C# code and HTML code, you will use a attribute to add to the native HTML element itself. So this is going to act as a hyperlink, and when I click on this hyperlink, it is going to call this action method. Similarly, if I use ASP hyphen, you can get the list of you can see the list of all the tags that can be supported by that particular HTML element. If you Google for tag helpers, you will see list of all the predefined tag helpers where you can use which, and similarly you can also create your custom own helper. Let me remove it. Here I have a header for the table with the required headings, and I'm going to put a for each loop on the model, which is a collection. And notice that again I have three links for editing, displaying the details, or deleting a particular uh, product entry. And while I'm editing or deleting, I want to pass the ID of that product, which will act as a primary key, as a route ID. Notice that this is again a tag helper. ASP action referring to action method, ASP route ID when I go from current view to the next view. So let me press Ctrl KD. Let me run the application and let's see what will be the output. In the meantime, if anybody has question, you can fire the questions. Okay, let me go to the /products, and before I go there, let me put a breakpoint in the index action method. My index action method is called. Notice that to the view I am getting the list. So this is like select star from products. Okay, so we don't have, so the application is working. Before I go and create new application, new product, let me still go there. If you notice, there is a problem. So the scaffolding doesn't generate all the required UI or code. So you might have to test it out to make sure that everything is working. So here there is a problem for the category. The list is not displayed, and at the same time, if you remember, we have added identity. So I want to make sure that only logged in users or authenticated users can create the new product. So let me go back to the action method, create action method. I'll say authorize. This will make sure that only authenticated users or logged in users are able to make a call to this action method. And there was one more problem, that is, if I go to the view of create, you will see that ASP4, ASP validation for, these are all tag helpers. You will not see any HTML helpers here. Now notice that select is the HTML tag here for category, but it does not know how to populate the values for it. So we have to change the code a little bit. That will look something like this. What I will do is ASP4, meaning this select will be bind to this property or this model class property, and ASP items will tell this select HTML element to get the values of this enum as a list to be displayed or populated as options. I'm also adding one more default option to make sure that user selects it. Let me run this application again. Let me go to products, controller, default action is index. Currently we don't have any products. Notice that when I click on create new, it is taking me to login screen. Now I don't have any registered user, so I'm going to click on register as new user. We have to follow the password policy. Okay, you can also configure the email account, email sender for confirmation. For now, I will just click here to confirm it. Let me go back a couple of screens. Now, if I click on create new, it is asking me to log in. I have entered the credentials. Click on login. It will take me to the actual product creation page. Let me add a product. Notice that now, because of this binding ASP items to the select list, I'm able to get the list of the categories from that enum. I'll click on create, and it should create an entry in the database for this product. Now there are 3 links, hyperlinks also available. I can also click on edit. Instead of product 1, I will say product 2. Again, there is a while editing, we allow to make the changes for the select list and so on. I can also go back, click details. It shows the details, and all basic CRUD operations are already in place. You can add few more features later on as per your requirement. Now this was a very basic about the .NET Core application and how to use it to create uh, basic CRUD operations. If you look at the .NET schedule for from the Microsoft, till now we had .NET Core 3.1, but this year onwards it will be a unified .NET. Actually, we have two major things from Microsoft this year for .NET developers, those who are interested. One is Blazor, which is a equivalent of Angular SPA technology. Sukesh has already done a fantastic session on Blazor. You can go to his video channel and watch the video, those are who are interested. And in November every year we are going to see a unified .NET being released. So that's it from my side, guys. I'm open to questions. Hello, Sukesh, you are there?
Yes, Siddesh.
Okay.
Hello.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some questions. Would you like to answer them, or should we wrap it up?
Yes. Let me go to the link. I'm not able to go to the. Okay. So let me go through questions.
Yep.
Let me. Okay, what are the questions? Let me go to. There is one question: difference between Kestrel and IIS. Kestrel is a cross-platform web server. IIS you can install only on Windows, but Kestrel is a lightweight web server which can be hosted on non-Windows environment also. You can Google it to find out more information. Amit, there is no PPT. All this information and more, I have given you few keywords. If you just Google it and follow the .net.microsoft.com, you will get more information. Can we use HTML helper in .NET Core? Yes. Pramod is asking. I have my shared screen, I suppose. Let me go to the view, and if you go to the indexed view, if you see here, it is a mixture of HTML. This is a tag helper. ASP dash are the tag helpers, and you can also see that there is a HTML helper methods also being used. Tag helpers are not a direct replacement. Of course, Microsoft wants to promote it, but not every HTML helper method has its equivalent tag helper yet. But in future, we should be seeing only tag helpers. Recording, I think Sukesh is the right person to answer that. What are the performance differences between .NET MVC and ASP.NET Core? Okay, if you are using .NET Framework application, and if you create a .NET Core application, a .NET Core application will be performance efficient, basically because we are not using many other referenced DLS. But again, it will also depend on the architecture of your application, and also what is the use case, what is the domain. All this will come into play. Again, this is the decision to be taken by the architect and not the actual developer. Next question, .NET Core uses Kestrel for hosting. So if I have a server with IIS pre-installed with hosted application, what configuration will be required to avoid conflict between both hosting environments? Someday, if I read your question correctly, you already have a .NET application or targeting .NET Framework. Of course, it will use IIS normal pipeline. But if you are using a .NET Core application, again, you will be hosting it on IIS only. But in IIS, you will use a Kestrel server pipeline internally. Again, you can read more about it by Googling about the Kestrel server, how the hosting works, and so on. But if you're talking of migration, again, you will have to use some portability tools to find out how you can migrate a .NET Framework application to .NET Core. You have to migrate it properly. If you don't migrate it properly, you will end up into a lot of issues, not only performance wise, but also from maintenance perspective. So you have to be very careful when you are migrating the application. Can you tell us more about .NET Core runtime? Tahir, we are out of time here. We had very limited time to showcase the actual ASP.NET Core functionality here. But if you can Google it more, we also have a Telegram group. If there are any more questions, you can ask there. I can help you there. If I migrate from .NET to .NET Core, Rajkumar, very good question. Migration again. See, you have to be very careful. If we are just because .NET Core is cross-platform, don't think of migrating at the first instance. Find out if you have to actually make use of the .NET Core platform itself. Meaning, if I want to move from Windows hosting to non-Windows hosting, or if there is some performance bottleneck, or if there is an actual use case to move from .NET Framework to .NET Core, only then migrate. My recommendation is otherwise you be continuing with your old architecture and old .NET Framework itself. But again, when we have a unified .NET framework from this November onwards, you will have to move to that framework. How integration of Angular 7 or React with .NET Core for this? Is there any inbuilt support? Pramod, in case you want to use Angular or React or some other SPA technology, JavaScript library, you will have to use Web API as the backend and not ASP.NET MVC, because ASP.NET MVC themselves have views. So you can use this. Again, you can integrate them with Angular also, but you would generally have API targeting .NET Core. Again, the same uh, template, you can use Web API instead of ASP.NET MVC template. What is the difference between Web Application, Razor, and MVC? Sachin, Razor and MVC are not to be compared. Razor is a view engine. If you remember, we had web forms, ASPX pages. There we had server controls, ASP.NET Server control, and we could either use ASP.NET Server controls, or we could write HTML in the ASPX page. Now, when we say MVC, either I can, in MVC, there are two options. Either I can use Razor page, or I can use Razor views. If I'm using Razor page, at the top you will see @page directive being used, or if you are using Razor views, both extensions, the extension will be CSHTML. But again, Razor is a view engine and not to be compared with MVC. MVC is the architecture pattern. I think we are about time. So if there are any questions, please put it on the Telegram group. And finally, I would like to thank Sukesh and Mumbai User Group for giving me this opportunity to present here.
Thank you, Siddesh sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you for contributing to the community. It was like really grateful. It was really helpful session, and I believe everybody enjoyed it. Everyone, thanks for being here, and thanks for all the participation. What I'll do is I'll just put our website link and the Telegram link in the chat. What you can do is, in case you are not part of the Telegram group, you can join in so that you can keep yourself upgraded with the events which we keep doing. On Sunday, like day after tomorrow, we will be having a session on Angular, which I am going to do it. So in case you are interested, like, you can be part of it, but it is not a basic Angular session. It is going to be an Angular routing. So in order to attend that session, you should know the fundamentals. So just you can practice. You have one more day, right? So thank you, Siddesh sir, once again. It was like very nice session and very helpful. Thank you, everyone. If you have any question, you can ask, or like we will exit the session. Siddesh sir, you can leave. Fine.
Yeah, thank you, Sukesh. And
Thank
I
you.
would
Thank
recommend all to attend Sukesh's session. Don't miss it.
you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.